It's an inflatable, and it's the same one as this thing right here. But it's about 4 meters tall. So we need some air to become a person. My name is Simone C Niquille. I'm a designer and researcher. I was born in Zürich. I studied photography and graphic design in the US, and then I did my master's in the Netherlands, where I still live and work today. I work with film, text, and teaching because I'm interested in the images that are circulating and are building the world we live in now. And as a designer, I'm curious to use the tools that we use to also understand how to create these worlds that we're in. Digital technologies are really sort of the place where my work happens. So I do a lot of 3D animations, and I work a lot in computer vision. And I'm interested in these technologies because I think they shape the world that we're in today. And so to me, it's incredibly important to understand how these technologies operate, how they function, who's made them, and also go back into the histories that might not be as expected. So something like a Renaissance and early perspective drawings that are very similar in their operation as a 3D program might be today. The films, when they become installations, it's important to me to make them spatial, because a film can be watched anywhere, and I find this the beauty of it, so you can watch it on your smartphone in your bed. But when you're gonna do an exhibition in an exhibition space and you get that sort of luxury, to me it's really important to also make it something that actually is in the real world and also moves in the real world. I've created a group of works around the way that the human body is being digitized. Through working with the softwares that are also creating these digital bodies, I realized I could never really escape my own criticism, which is that these softwares are incredibly limiting. So if I want to create a digital body, it always looked a certain way, or it had to have a certain gender, and a certain gender meant that it's muscular or not. So it operated under a slew of stereotypes that exist around how the human body exists and presents itself. And then also moments like these where you see that two forms have been joined. This is because the torso is labeled female in this database, and the legs are from another female, the arms are male, so they don't really match. I can add a banana for scale. A topic that I'm super interested in was the way that the human body either communicates in itself, so how we dress, but also the images that circulate of the body and how those are created, and who perhaps also owns these images. So these are the real face camouflage t-shirts. I created a pattern for these t-shirts that when you wear it, it confuses facial recognition software. This would be Obama. I was incredibly curious about the value, so the worth that a face has in this identifying mechanism. And with that, I was working with lookalikes, so people that earn money by sort of impersonating or appearing as someone else. I was working with a Hillary Clinton impersonator because I was super curious in her not just being a figure of entertainment, but suddenly also having political power. And I was super interested in where these technologies are being used. So from something like social media, but also finds a place in policing and in surveillance.
Every facial expression speaks 1,000 emotions. Happy? Calm?
By giving agency, so power to machines to either measure or understand things that are incredibly difficult for a human being, and sort of giving trust into a machine to do that because it's difficult for us. I'm curious to sort of know in what way are machines performing, or are they even performing better?
Is this what it is like to be a machine learning system? Restricted by resources? Restricted by data sets?
Most of my films as a voiceover have a child's voice. One of the reasons is that there's an analogy sometimes made between artificial intelligence having to learn as a child. At the same time, the child's voice allows me to have the viewer perhaps be much more at a moment of imagination and be open to questions that otherwise could be seen as banal or mundane.
Book, air conditioner, door.
In the process of assembling training data, there's a process called labeling, so where there's names being put to data, and normally this is a human task. So there's a decision process that's being made here. And it's not a technical decision process. What I find super interesting is when we, for example, have something like a toy gun or a water pistol. In its shape, it might also be a weapon, or the way it's used, it might be a weapon. And so these complexities become really flattened or reduced in the world of computer vision.
Decoration? Toothbrush? Handle?
For example, a couch that has a cow hide as a covering might look like a cow to the system that is trained on texture, whereas the system that is trained on shape sees a couch.
A cow! A cow's bone!
In the work Beauty and the Beep, I put a chair front and center, and the chair learns to walk with machine learning. And of course, this is a bit of a weird, absurd task. Why should a chair even walk? And I'm really interested in playing with these expectations and also these assumptions that we as human beings carry within ourselves about the world around us. And its moments of failure, you really build a lot of empathy with it. And I find this incredibly important also because of storytelling, because we might not have the same kind of relationship with the system as it is sold to us now, but it can have a lot of empathy. And I think this is an important sort of part of designing these pieces and using design for storytelling.
Just hanging out in ambiguity. Am I duck or am I rabbit? We don't know.
I believe in academic research, at least, there often isn't so much the space to wonder. It's result-driven. And I think this is where design research and design as a practice of image making is incredibly beautiful, because it still allows you to create spaces for other people to revel in magic.